Some places are not meant to be inherited. Some legacies are not meant to be claimed. And some mothers are not meant to be mourned. My name is Eleanor Vance. I no longer trust the smell of candle smoke. I no longer look at my own reflection in the dark. Let me tell you why. After my father's fishing boat was swallowed by a storm in '07, my mother and I were left with two things: a decaying clapboard house on the edge of Blackwater swamp, and a silence thicker than the Carolina heat. To keep me fed, to keep me in school, she opened our home to men. Not as a bordello, as a private sanctuary. Businessmen from Charleston. Lonely pastors from neighboring towns. Their headlights would cut through the hanging moss like search beams, and I would lie in bed, psalms whispered into my pillow, trying to drown out the sounds the house absorbed. Then the Reverend Silas Marsh started coming. He wore black in the humid heat and smelled of turned earth and old parchment. He didn't come for her body. He came for her devotion. He spoke of a purer love, a deeper communion. He called it the Bridal Feast. My mother's eyes, once hollow with survival, began to burn. The other men stopped coming. Only Reverend Marsh remained. Their meetings moved to the locked root cellar. I'd hear them down there, not passion but ritual. A low, rhythmic chanting that made the foundation hum. The smell of beeswax and copper seeped up through the floorboards. That's when I found Daniel. A mechanic's son with grease under his nails and a laugh like sunlight. He was my escape, my rebellion. When I told my mother I would leave with him, her face didn't crumple. It hardened. "This house is your dowry," she said calmly. "Your groom is already chosen." That night the dripping started. Not from the faucet, from the ceiling above my bed. A thick, syrupy drip, drip, drip that smelled of honeysuckle and rot. Then the singing. My mother's voice, but filtered through water and memory, rising from the root cellar grate. "Jesus loves me, this I know, for the swamp tells me so." I confronted her. Screamed. Begged. She only stared past me, a serene smile on her lips. "He is a jealous bridegroom, Ellie. He must be sure of you." The next morning on my pillow, a bridal veil. Yellowed with age. Woven with black Spanish moss and tiny, delicate crow bones. It was cold to the touch. The true horror began, subtly. A feeling of being watched, not from the window, but from inside the room. From the corner where the shadows pooled too thick. Then, the pressure on the bed. The unmistakable dip of a form, settling beside me in the dead of night. A cold, breathless presence. The scent of wet clay and funeral lilies. I'd wake with bruises on my wrists, shaped like slender, grasping fingers. A soreness in my body. A violation I could not remember, only feel in the aching dawn. I was being courted, possessed, married in the night by something that shared my bed. I tried to flee. I'd pack a bag, make it to the end of the driveway where Daniel waited in his truck. But a fog would roll in from the swamp, a sentient, choking mist that tasted of regret. And I'd hear my mother's voice, not from the house, but from the trees themselves. "Come back to the altar, Eleanor. Your vows are being witnessed." My legs would turn to stone. I could not cross the property line. The visits grew violent. Sleep was no longer a refuge, but a battleground. I'd be held down by invisible forces, a crushing weight on my chest, while a cold, insistent intimacy was forced upon me. I'd wake gasping, my nightgown torn, my skin marked with intricate bruise-like patterns, like thorny vines, or strange cursive script. My mother saw what was happening. For a moment I saw the old terror in her eyes, the widow, not the zealot. She called for Reverend Marsh. He came one last time. I watched from my window as they argued by the swamp's edge. He was frantic. She clutched at his coat. He shoved her away, got in his car, and fled. His tires sprayed mud like a final curse. That night, my mother came to my room. Her serenity was gone, replaced by raw, desperate horror. The smell of the swamp was on her, strong. "I only wanted to secure your future," she whispered, voice cracking. I offered my faith. But a bridegroom, he desires a bride. He tasted my devotion, and now he hungers for yours. My prayers built the altar. Now, he demands the sacrifice lie upon it. She had made a deal. Offered her faith to a presence in the swamp, an old, hungry thing that wore the mask of a divine suitor. In return, it promised her security, power over the men who used her. But it was a possessive entity. It wanted a lineage of devotion, a bride to keep. "He's in the house now," she sobbed. "He's not in the swamp anymore. I invited him in. He's in the walls, in the soil under the floor. He's your husband, Ellie. And he is so very jealous. The next morning I found her in the root cellar. She had hung herself from the central beam with a rope of braided honeysuckle vine. At her feet, arranged in a circle, were photographs of all the men who had ever come to our house. Each face was scorched black. In the center of the circle was my picture, untouched. Her suicide was not despair. It was a failed exorcism. A broken hope that if the one who made the vow was gone, the vow itself might break. She was wrong. Her death only made him stronger. The nightly visitations became more brutal, more claiming. Vines thicker than my arm burst through the floorboards, blooming with black fleshy flowers that pulsed like hearts. The dripping became a stream. I was a ghost in my own life, a prisoner in a bridal suite of rot and shadow. It was Daniel who finally found me. He forced the door, found me catatonic in the corner of my fouled room. He took me to hospitals, churches, therapists. I was diagnosed, medicated, prayed over. The physical manifestations lessened when I was removed from the house. But some bonds are metaphysical. Some marriages are consummated in the soul. Daniel married me. A real wedding in a sunlit chapel. He is a good man, a kind man. But on our wedding night, as he slept, I felt the familiar dip in the mattress on his other side. The scent of wet clay and lilies. A cold, possessive arm that was not his draped over us both. We have moved across the country. We have blessed every room. We have torn down the house in Blackwater and salted the earth. But I still feel him. He is a patient husband. He believes in "till death do us part." And I fear he has definitions of death that I have yet to comprehend. This morning, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a single perfectly preserved black flower from the vines that grew in my old room. Wrapped around its stem, a thin band, woven from my mother's hair and that same yellowed veil lace. A wedding band. A reminder. The covenant stands. This has been the story of the bridegroom of Blackwater. It is not a story of ghosts. It is a story of covenants. The most profound evil does not always attack your faith. Sometimes it answers your prayers. It accepts the offerings of the desperate. It comes as a provider, a protector, a suitor. So listen closely. If you are ever desperate, and a solution seems too perfectly suited to your deepest want, if the help offered comes with the scent of earth and old vows, walk away. Some prayers build doors. Some doors, once opened, admit a presence that considers your soul its marital home. If you have a story that haunts you, send it to contact.drdreadcodex@gmail.com. Your truth becomes our tale. Your likes and comments keep these stories alive. Until next time, may your covenants be pure. May your home be your own. Good night.